Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is DeMarcus Mabry. This channel will be for inspiring entrepreneurs, inspiring real estate professionals to close your first wholesale deal and scale your business. In this video, I want to talk about what it took to get my first wholesale deal, what I went through, what I learned, and how it happened. Okay. I'm a real estate professional. I've been wholesaling full time for about 4 years now, since 2020, and I've learned so much along this journey, and that's what this channel will be about. Sharing what I've learned, sharing the wins, sharing the losses, sharing the experiences, the painful lessons that I've learned along the way, to give it to you guys free game so that you won't make the same mistakes I did, and hopefully you pick up on something that I've been through to better yourself or further your business along. So let's go back. So 2019, in the summer of 2019 is when I first heard about real estate wholesaling. I heard about it through a friend of mine. He let me know, there's a way you can start investing in real estate, no cash, no credit needed. And at this point, the only thing I heard about, was flipping houses. I know you need some money for flipping houses. You might have to use your credit for flipping houses, like actually flipping a house. But I never heard about a way to invest in real estate with no money, no credit needed. At this time, I'm working a full-time job. So again, it's summer of 2019. I hear about wholesaling. I start looking into it. I look up some YouTube videos. There weren't as many as there are now by far, but I look up some YouTube videos. Some of the mentors I looked at initially, Max Maxwell, forgive me guys, Mark Whitten, his interview on Breakfast Club. So there was a few interviews I saw. Max Maxwell was the one that was really doing a lot of content back then in 2019. So I started to learn about it. But again, I'm working a full-time job. I had weekends off, maybe a day or so during the week. I didn't really have much time consistently to put toward finding a deal, closing a deal, getting a business started, etc. But I knew I was interested in it because the 9 to 5, it's consistent, it's stable, but I knew that I didn't want my life to end up being corporate, working for someone else, making someone else rich. So in 2019, again, this is summer, what I did first was create my LLC. I knew that I was going to get into real estate one day. I didn't know when or how, but what I did was I created my LLC, and I believe that was in August of 2019. So fast forward to November 2019, the day before Thanksgiving, I got laid off from my job. The day before Thanksgiving. And looking back, it was a blessing in disguise. Of course, at that time I was upset, but I knew that, okay, if I'm gonna give real estate a shot, now is gonna be the time. Now is gonna be the time for me to go all in, because what do I have to lose? I already lost my job. I have nothing but time now, so let me give it everything I have. So again, at that time, I'm in YouTube University. I'm learning from guys on YouTube that I've seen do it, and I'm just like, if they can do it, I can do it. They're telling me exactly how they did it, so I can take advantage of this content and put money in my bank account. At this time, my now wife, engaged at that time, so we're living together. I need to provide. A lot of things are going through my head, but I know that this is a time for me to start real estate full time. So again, that was the day before Thanksgiving, 2019, that I was let go from my job. Thanksgiving Day, essentially, was the first day I'm all in on real estate. And it's been that way ever since. So I looked for my first deal. How do I find my first deal? I didn't really know anything about generating leads or how to consistently market or anything like that. I really my first gut instinct was to go to Craigslist. I'm like, people put things for sale on Craigslist, bikes, houses, cars, anything. So I'm like, all right, let me go on Craigslist. Let me see what people are trying to sell on Craigslist. Let me see if there's anybody that's actually selling their house on Craigslist. And again, this is 2019. So it turns out there were several people at the time, and still are to this day probably, selling their houses on Craigslist. So I go to Craigslist. Actually, my wife was working with me at this time. I believe she actually found the seller. This seller, he lived in New York. We're based in Georgia. He lives in New York. He has a house in Kansas. that he wants to sell. Him and his wife got a divorce. Neither one of them live at the house. He doesn't want the house and he just wants to sell it. Again, I have no experience with wholesaling real estate. I don't know what I'm doing. All I know is what I've seen in YouTube videos, how to speak to sellers, how to write a contract, how to negotiate the deal, etc. So I just stumbled my way forward into negotiating with the seller, finding out what he needs, finding out what he's asking for the property, and getting the deal in the contract, right? That was a huge win. Getting that deal in the contract was a huge win. I want to say we got it under contract maybe like early to mid December. So just a few weeks after I'm officially all in is when I got my first deal under contract. And it took a few weeks to find a buyer for that deal. I had to do a few different things. Again, I don't know. I know what I've seen on YouTube videos, but I don't really know what to do. So I'm just letting you know this. I'm reiterating that to say you don't always have to have all the answers. You just have to start doing things. So I got the deal in the contract. What do? I Google a bunch of we buy houses companies in Kansas. I believe this is Wichita, Kansas, if I'm not mistaken, or right outside of Wichita, Kansas. So Wichita was the major city that was nearest the property. So I started Googling a bunch of companies, we buy houses companies, contractors, investors, buyers. At this time, I was just in a few Facebook groups. I joined a few. I was just letting people know, hey, I got a deal and I need to sell it. I got a deal, I need to sell it. So we finally got in touch with a guy that knew another guy that was buying on that street. He liked that street. I think he was personally like renovating that part of town. So I met a guy that knew a potential buyer. Scheduled to go see the property. We scheduled him to view the property. And again, this is all done virtually from my cell phone, from my laptop. And he wants to buy the house. So we got it under contract. I had to split the profit on this deal with the person that found the buyer. So I think we did 50-50 or something like that. And in just a few weeks, I remember January 4th, 2020 was when that first deal closed. And I got that wire. I remember I was sitting at dinner with my wife and her parents. And I got that wire. I want to say it was just a little over $3,000, maybe $4,000, $3,500, something like that. Not a ton of money looking back, but it was crazy proof of concept for me. This worked. I didn't leave my house. I didn't use my own money. I didn't use my credit. This actually works and it's legal. And I did it quick. So I'm like, okay. I told my wife at that time, I looked at her at the dinner table. As soon as I got the notification that the wire hit, I said, I'm never gonna have a job again. This is what I'm gonna do full time. Now, second deal, just a month or two later, that was January when the first deal closed. The second deal closed early March, similar situation. I found the deal on Craigslist. It was remember 2020, this is COVID, everything's going on. I found a property in Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh on Craigslist. Owner wanted to sell the house. He was rehabbing the house, meaning repairing the house, but he ran out of resources. He ran out of money to fix the house. So he wanted to sell it just as it was. Same deal. Now I have a little bit of experience, but this was a totally different state, totally different situation. So I just used what I knew. Got the deal under contract. I did another JV. So the realtor found the buyer. I connected with the realtor in Pennsylvania. Again, I'm in Georgia. I never left Georgia. I've never seen either of these houses in person still to this day. But I connected with the realtor and he found a buyer. These buyers are actually in Israel. And, so they never even saw the property. They're buying properties virtually. I'm wholesaling properties virtually. The only person that's physically in the same city was the realtor who I did a JV with. So the realtor found the buyer. I want to say I got that deal under contract at $30,000. We found a buyer for $55,000 or $58,000. So that's about $28,000 total profit. That deal closed in 2-3 weeks. Myself and my JV partner split the assignment fee, which was $28,000. So I made $14,000. he made 14,000 for finding the buyer. Now, at this point, remember it's March 2020, COVID is about to hit, but nobody knows about it yet. I'm like, okay, I have a lot of proof of concept now. It wasn't a fluke. I didn't just do it one time. I did it twice. And I have now about over $10,000, over $15,000 in my bank account. And I've never had that much money before. I've never made that much money that fast in that short a time frame. So I'm hooked. I'm hooked. Now, after that, remember, COVID's going on. A lot was going on in my family personally. My son was born in 2020. So there was a lot of things that I didn't know about the economy, about marketing. If looking back, I wish I had reinvested a lot of that money into marketing, into whatever, cold calling, text message, paid ads, anything. I wish I had invested more. That's the mistake a lot of wholesalers make when they get that first pop, $10, $15, $20,000. They invest maybe a little bit, like $500, $1,000 into marketing. That was a huge mistake. Why? Because money goes really fast. Money goes really fast, and you want to make sure you're doubling up. If you make $15,000, there's some people that do 70-30. They put 70% back into their business. They keep 30% for themselves. I just wish I had some type of structure back then so that my business would have doubled and quadrupled a lot sooner than it did. So I went through a drought from March until about maybe the summer. July or August was the next deal. But through 3 or 4 months, that $14,000 gets eaten up really fast. Living expenses, you don't have a consistent job now, so you need to close more deals, etc. So I wish I would have doubled down. I know this now, but I wish I would have doubled down on reinvesting into the business. That's so important. Another aspect of it is there's nothing wrong with JVs. Meaning joint venture, meaning you're partnering with someone who's going to find a buyer for your deal. However, you don't want to make a habit out of this business setup. Why? Because think about it. The first deal I JV'd, I made about $3,500. That means the total assignment was $7,000. The second time I JV'd, I made about $14,000. The total assignment fee was $28,000. So imagine, I'm looking at about $17,500, where if I found the buyer myself at those same numbers, let's say, I would have made over $31,000. So we're going from 17 to $31,000. So, or roughly double whatever it was. But so that goes a long way. If you can't find a buyer, always JV. It's better than zero, right? That 3,500 was better than zero. That 14,000 was better than zero. But you don't want to build a business that way, because you're literally cutting your profit in half every single time. And over a year's time, if you do that, whatever you made, you could have made double. So that's something I learned along the way as well during that first 2020 year. The market was going through some things, and the economy was obviously going crazy with COVID. 2021, the year after, ended up being a fantastic year. But those were a few of the things I've learned in 2020. The biggest thing though, the biggest takeaway from this video, if you don't take away anything else, is taking action. Even though I started the LLC in the summer of 2019, as soon as I got laid off from my job, I made the decision. There was no way I was turning back. I'm going to get a deal on the contract no matter what. Why? Because I have to. I'm not going to get a job. I need to have money to pay rent, buy groceries, etc., to live. So I don't have a choice. A lot of people, I feel like, they don't take action because they have comforting choices. They have a job. Their spouse makes a lot of money. When your back is really against the wall and you really don't have a choice, that's when the fierce determination will come out of you, and you'll find your way to get a deal. Opportunity will meet you because the universe knows that you're not playing around. So if you have a job and you're wholesaling, I'm not saying quit your job. I am not saying quit your job, but I just want to make it a point to know that the amount of determination you have, the amount of determination and perseverance you have goes a long way. The universe knows when you're just playing around. The universe knows when you're not that serious. The universe knows when you don't really believe it'll happen. The universe knows these things. So it's important to match your desire with the determination so that you get the result you want. Otherwise, I know people that tried wholesaling 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year and a half, no deal. I don't know what exactly they were doing, but I can tell you one thing, like they weren't aggressive enough with it. They weren't going hard enough with it. So make the decision for yourself, even if you have a job, if you have no job, if you hate your job, if you love your job, make the decision firmly that you're going to get your deal in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Make that decision, decide that, believe that, put action into it. You'll definitely get your first deal. So thank you for watching, guys. This was just a little a snippet of my journey, how I got my first couple of deals, what I learned. Like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. See you on the next one. Peace.